Welcome to episode 2 of Valerie Rising. In today's episode, I want to dig into the origins of how the name Valerie Rising came to me. For starters, I just need to preface this whole series by letting you know that this is a completely soul-led and just inspired project. It was born out of a breakdown, turned to breakthrough that happened to me last week, like around this time, exact time actually. So I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants and like allowing inspiration to be the source of the content that I share here. Last week when I was deciding on a name for this series, I at first wanted to maybe crowdsource on Instagram to have some of you help me figure out a name, but then Valerie Rising came to me and it just felt right, and I also loved that it matched my existing initials. So this has also been a time when I've been really asking the universe for some guidance, like contact signs, like anything from my ancestors. An ancestral intervention, if you will. All through October, I'd been drinking my beloved veil, ancestral divination tea, lighting incense, sending smoke signals, like anything I could do to intentionally call them in, because life is lifey for me right now. I've really jumped off a cliff and I'm having to reconfigure the whole thing. And while rebirthing myself and taking care of my family through this transition, I feel like there's only so much that the actual humans in my life can do to support me. So, especially with it being October, Halloween, Samhain, Dia de los Muertos, I was ready to ask for help from the other side of the veil. So in preparing for this episode and reflecting on the whole rising thing, I started to think about my Still I Rise tattoo. And so the backstory to that tattoo is, it's kind of a lot. On November 15th, my cousin Shonda's body was found in a dumpster in Texas, and I remember that day so vividly because at dinner I had the worst gut feeling, and then my mom called, and when the phone rang, I just knew it was bad news. That ended up triggering the second of a few major awakenings in my life, and I had never grieved quite so much and quite so hard, and that whole tragedy just broke me all the way open. And so I knew I wanted to speak at her funeral. And at the wake, when I asked her sister for guidance, she said Shonda was a Scorpio, really resonated with the Phoenix. And then after the wake, I immediately went and got my nose pierced, something I'd wanted for a long time, but I'd been taking my face a little too seriously and didn't want to poke holes in it. And suddenly I just really wanted to honor my own desires, especially after evaluating my life as much as I did in that whole grieving awakening process. So that night I went down a internet rabbit hole, just researching the Phoenix, and I ended up deciding to recite my Angelou's Still I Rise poem at Shonda's funeral. So then fast forward to October 2018 at the Strong as a Mother Summit. During a meditation, I felt and visualized this giant phoenix energy rising out of my head, and it was this whole powerful mystical moment for me, which symbolized a lot considering I just come out of a long and deeply traumatic experience, which was Rex's whole pregnancy and birth and heart surgeries, and we're just going to talk about that later. But fast forward to early February 2020, when another personally traumatic event blindsided me, and I made the impulsive decision to reclaim Valentine's Day for myself and get my first 2 tattoos as part of my healing process. I guess is body art and stuff like that. But anyway, one was an eye on my finger and the other was a Still I Rise on my wrist. For me, when hard and painful and traumatic things happen to me in life, I tend to plead with God to just please let this be the worst thing that happens to me in my life. But that's definitely asking too much from life. So I believe our souls came here for growth, and maybe Earth just really sucks sometimes. And honestly, I hope this is my last incarnation here, but I digress. Instead of wishing for the impossible dream that maybe someday life will be perfect, I can just stay committed to continuing to rise when it isn't, and it's not going to be. So to me, rising is all about living a soul-led life and reclaiming the parts of myself that got lost along the way, and taking my power back from the systems and people and relationships that drain me, unlearning almost everything, reprogramming, unblocking, decolonizing, living fully, being a co-creator, going with the flow, expanding, and consciously deciding to advocate for myself and get in the driver's seat of my own life. So all that to say is that when I went into a meditation about this whole Valerie Rising name, I did an Answers and Clarity guided hypnosis, and I'll link it below. I understood that I'd finally gotten the ancestral intervention that I like so desperately desired. And in paying attention to the synchronicities, November 3rd was the day I got the idea for the series. November 4th was the day Shonda was found. November 4th is also the new moon in Scorpio, which is Shonda and Rex's like astrological sign, and her birthday is coming up on the 21st. My mind is always just like really impressed with how much support we have when we ask and pay attention to the signs and the gifts that are available to us when we most desperately need them. My hope is that in sharing all of this is that I wish more people shared their mystical experiences and spiritual experiences so that we can fully plug into our souls instead of like brushing things off and being distracted and feeling crazy when we get the signs and the downloads and like experience the actual like miraculous things that are happening. So if you've lost a loved one, they're still around influencing and guiding us in ways that our little like human brains cannot even begin to comprehend. I also can't help myself but share at this point because like it lights me up so much and it's helping me piece together the sparks that have ignited such like profound transformation in myself. And I'm here to say like bring it on to the universe, which totally scares the crap out of me, but like here we are. Everything's scary and we're all dying, and like I might as well just choose something fun that lights me up and maybe lights the way for somebody else in my radius. So yeah, thank you for being here and witnessing all of this. If you could please leave a like and a comment, that would help a ton as I'm getting myself situated back on into this platform. Like, let's have a little fun and maybe leave a fire emoji or like a few to symbolize that we are about to light it up. Also, emoji and GIFs are my personal love language. They're like modern day hieroglyphics. So anyway, thank you so much for watching another episode. I will see you again tomorrow, and like, thanks for being here. Let me know what you think.